the Spa-Francorchamps track.
The exit of turn 7.
Who will not get an opportunity to improve.
We are at the half point of the season and Lewis still doesn't have a podium. Or does he? Nah! That's kidding, he was stuck behind Albon the whole race. Most important thing is Christian Horner is out, getting replaced by Lauren Mekis, now former Vicar team principal, with Lawson and Hajar actually praising him and describing him as the perfect choice. Also, Ferrari upgrading the rear suspension, and I mentioned that later for the sprint quali. Aston Martin has made upgrades to their car, and Berman should be pretty happy here since it was his first F3 win in 2022. Moving on to FP1, since this is a sprint GP, there was only one practice session and nothing really happened except of Carlos, who had some fuel issues and missed half of it. Also Kimi and Franco looked up on turn 1. Kimi went into the gravel at turn 14 and the person who stole the show, the one and only 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, who spun out before the end of the lap, and that may be the upgrade that Ferrari brought to their car, because how can Lewis lock his rears? He's not a bad driver. Moving away, he started the sprint on P18. Also my gold Albon sadly finished in P16. Now SQ2, we have the usual culprit, Mr. Lance Stroll in P15, and also a bit of a shocker, Russell landing in P13 behind Yuki and Lawson. Now SQ3 had one of the best future drivers here. I call him the second coming of the Rainmaster, my Brazilian king himself, Gabriel Bortoleto. Sadly he came in P10 but still made it to SQ3. Let's get the more important stuff: Piastri P1, Max P2, Norris P3 and Leclerc P4. Moving on to the sprint, the big thing was how Verstappen passed Piastri and won the sprint, but the most important part, the second coming of Senna, my GOAT, my king, future 12-time world champion Bortoleto gained a positioning at 0 points because it was a fuck-ass sprint. So yeah, P9, so nothing really interesting happened except the max overtake on Piastri. Moving on to the actual quali, we start off strong with Lance Stroll doing normal Lance Stroll things and damaging Nico's front wing in the pits by not letting him in. Another thing that happened in the pits was a Haas almost driving into Alonso. Now let's get to the actual quali. In Q1 it seemed like the future 12-time world champion, the second coming of Senna, my Brazilian king Bortoleto, would go out, but then with 40 seconds on the clock he goes up to P10. Then Helms went out if not for Hamilton cutting a rouge and getting back to P16, so I owe him one for saving my Brazilian king. Also, the guys who got eliminated during Q1 have the usual culprit, Mr. Lance Stroll finishing in P20, we're not even shocked at this point, and the youngest driver on the grid finishing in P18. Now Q2, most important thing is my king Bortoleto getting into Q3, sadly his teammate Nico got eliminated and will be starting the race in P14. Also surprisingly, Sainz finished in P15, which I was quite sad about as a Williams fan, and both of the Haas getting eliminated in P11 and P12. Now, the most important part, Q3. Let's get some things out of the way. My GOAT got to P10, let's ignore the mid part and look at the top, with Norris coming in pole position, after him Piastri and then Leclerc, who got P3 on his last lap, in P4 coming the 2024 world champion Max Verstappen. First thing that happened during the race, we had to wait 1.5 hours for it to start, because of the rain. Ignoring that, the first few laps were behind the safety car. When it pulled away, something unexpected happened. It was Norris who fucked up the start, with Piastri passing him pretty quickly and keeping the lead for most of the race. Then we had the fight for P3, that lasted most of the race, with Max constantly on the tail of Leclerc. Now let's look at my GOAT, who finished in P9, gaining 2 points for the Sauber team. An excellent performance from the GOAT, the Brazilian king and the future 12-time world champion Gabriel Bortoleto. Also moving away to the 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, who after gaining 11 positions up to P7 was stuck behind Albon for most of the race, losing his streak of never finishing under P4 on the Belgian GP. We have the fight for P11, which lasted for a bit. Gasly was 11th and a squad behind him. It was Berman, Yuki, Stroll surprisingly, and Nico fighting for it after he pitted. Now the end was the most exciting part, with Norris gradually getting closer to Piastri, going up from a 8 to a 3-second gap until in one of the last laps he locked up on turn 1 and lost a whole second, which made him finish in P2. Now we look at Ferrari, in which Charles finished P3. We are so back. Next year is our year. Leclerc defended very well against Max, who finished in P4. Also Hadjar had some issue and finished in P20, and Gasly with 1 point for the Alpine team in P10 and Lawson finishing in P8. Russell's Mercedes finishing in P5, gaining 10 points for his team. That's about it.